Buckley, he's the director of Campaign Central. Mike ran the Labour Party's campaign calling for a confirmatory referendum on a Brexit deal. He joins us from London. Mike, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Look, deal, a thin deal or no deal, is the British government keeping something from the British public about what's going to happen to the country on January the 1st?
Well, I think there are two interesting things about where we've ended up, whether we get a deal or whether we get no deal. And the first, of course, is the economic impact. And the economic impact on the UK will be huge either way. There is a difference between a deal and no deal. But either way, there's going to be a dramatic impact on the UK economy that will go much further than the impact that we've seen or will see in the future from the pandemic and coronavirus. The government is not being honest about that, and they haven't been honest the whole way through these negotiations with the British public. But the second interesting thing is what it tells us about British politics. And really, it shows us that British politics has failed, because the British people did not vote for the outcome of a thin deal, such as Johnson wants to negotiate, or the outcome of no deal. At no point did the British people choose that. In 2016, they were told that we would get an easy deal that would be better than membership. And in 2019, the British people were told that Johnson had an oven-ready deal that would lead us to a great future for Britain. But that deal included two parts, the withdrawal agreement and the political declaration. The withdrawal agreement has gone through, but Johnson is trying to change it now, illegally, using British law to do so. And he ripped up his own political declaration in February this year, which, of course, has led us to the impasse that we are at now. So we're in a very difficult bind in the UK, both economically and politically.
Very interesting. So obviously you've answered the question that I asked you, to examine the role of the British government in its relationship and sharing of information with the people. What about the other way around and the public? Do you think they actually know what's happening? I have read first-hand accounts of people thinking, hold on, I thought Brexit was done. Because technically, of course, the UK has left the European Union, and it's just this trade deal that now needs to be sorted out.
No, it's true. There are many people in Britain who do not pay that much attention to the news at all, and of course who have had 5 years of news about Brexit. But once we left the EU in January, essentially decided we've left now, we've moved on. Why are people still talking about it? Which, of course, is going to be a big shock to them in January when we do eventually leave the single market and customs union, and then the negative impacts kick in. So far, you've had people saying, well, we've left the EU, but nothing much has happened. You know, there's been no major change. And that's because we haven't actually hit the crunch point. So that's partly a result of the government trying to play things down. It's partly a result of the fact that the opposition Labour Party has said very little about Brexit this year. But it's also majorly a fault of the media, which has not really given the required weight, I think, to the economic disaster that awaits us in the future. And of course, we're also in a pandemic here. Had coronavirus not happened, there probably would have been more attention paid to Brexit.
Are you worried about social unrest when it really starts to hit home?
I am worried about it. I mean, you saw the document from the government that was leaked, and that showed that there could be food shortages, which will particularly impact poorer people because it will put prices up, particularly on fresh food. There could be medicine shortages as well. And of course, that could lead to the loss of life, the needless loss of life for people who are dependent, for example, on cancer medications or other life-saving medications as well. So in those circumstances, combined with the job losses that will come, of course, from coronavirus, but then also from the Brexit impacts, we could be looking at a very, very difficult 2021 in Britain, and that could include social unrest, although, of course, we all hope that that won't happen.
The opinion polls showed that the majority of people who were asked the question would rather that the United Kingdom was in the European Union. So what happened to elected governments doing what people want? I mean, obviously, the government can't right now rejoin the European Union, but in terms of fulfilling the wishes of people who would like to be part of the EU, why not make a deal with that bloc of 27 countries?
Well, Brexit has been misplayed by governments since 2016. Of course, the 2016 referendum was a knife edge. It was 52% to leave and 48% to remain. But of course, that didn't include lots of people who didn't vote. Essentially, about a third of the population didn't vote. This has been treated by a slam dunk win for the Leave side, while not recognising it was a very, very tight vote in the first place, and also without recognising only about a third of voters ever voted to leave the European Union, and certainly not in circumstances like this. So essentially, our country has been hijacked by a hard group within the Conservative Party who for years have wanted to sever ties and all ties with the European Union. It doesn't reflect the vote in 2016. It doesn't reflect the vote in 2019, the last election. where because of our voting system, the Conservatives won a big majority, but actually most voters voted for parties that wanted either a softer Brexit or no Brexit at all. So essentially what this shows us is that our democracy is not functioning. And in the future, we're going to have to address that fact through electoral reform, probably including proportional representation, and through also looking into quite how we ended up in a situation where a sitting government can indeed act against the will of most of the British people. I mean, you look at opinion polls now, the EU has a 60% approval rating in the UK. It just keeps going up. And the proportion of people saying that Brexit was the wrong decision is far higher now than the proportion of people saying it was the right decision. So British democracy is in crisis, and our economy is, of course, also in crisis, and it will get worse next year.
Mike, thank you so much indeed for spending time with us on the News Hours. Mike Buckley, Director of Campaign Central. Take care.